Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare. Can you see the screen now? Okay, perfect. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langate Girim Yat Kripatamaham Vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Gurave Gaur Chandraya Radhikaya Tadalai Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tadbhaktaya Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna to all the wonderful devotees present here on this call. Ravi Prabhu and family, Nishita Ji and Shreya, Vipul Prabhu and family, Kant Prabhu family, Karthik Prabhu, Sampada Mataji, Babu Prabhu and family, Manasa Mataji. See, if you turn on your videos, then I can see you and your number will come first. Then otherwise, I don't know if you are sleeping or driving or what. I know Abhishek Prabhu is driving. Thank you for joining. Avijit Dev Prabhu, Renu Mataji, thank you so much, all of you, for taking out your valuable time. Avinash Kumarji and Lakshay and Sudhir Prabhu and family, Nayan Prabhu, Anita Mataji, Vinay Prabhu, I hope you're also present. Mishuk, Mohan Kanti, oh, Mohan Kanti Prabhu, thank you so much. I hope I didn't miss anyone's name. Rashmi Chawla Mataji, all the way from Rochester, New York. I hope it's not cold there. So thank you. Thank you, all of you, for taking out your valuable time on this Saturday evening to study Bhagavad Gita. So we are on chapter 2 of Bhagavad Gita, which is entitled The Summary of Bhagavad Gita. And we are talking about the acronym, okay? What is the acronym of chapter 2? Do anyone knows? In a quick way to tell chapter 2. Gita, yes, G-I-T-A. Very nice. I think most of you, some of you said the right. The G, the first few verses talk about Guru. Without the spiritual master, we cannot understand the spiritual subject. The next topic we discuss until text number 30, and last time we spent significant amount of time, almost 3 sessions, understanding about the difference in the body and the soul. What is the difference and what are in the body? Who am I not? Spiritual mathematics, understanding through the stories and examples. That is about I of identity. It is important to know who am I before trying to say, I want to be happy. Otherwise, we were reading in the Srimad Bhagavatam today that otherwise we will be only trying to make the material senses happy, and the spiritual senses, which are underneath, which are kind of dormant or in a sleeping state, will never be able to touch that axis or access them. So we are the spirit soul, not this body, the eye of identity. Now we come GIT. T is for two duties. So let's begin our discussion on this topic of two duties. Let's start from text number 31. Swadharmam api chavikshya navikampitum arhasi dharmyadhi yuddhat shreyonyat kshatriyasya na vidyate. Would someone like to read the translation? Yes, Shitla Mataji, please.
Considering your specific duty as a Kshatriya, you should know that there is no better engagement for you than fighting on religious principles, and so there is no need for hesitation. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. Thank you so much. Let's read one more verse and then we'll discuss together. Yadrichaya chopapannam swargadwaram apavritam sukhinah kshatriya partha labhante yudham idrisham. Yes, Sampada Mataji, want to read? Akshay, please.
Yes, baby. Translation. Oh, Partha, happy are the Kshatriyas to whom such fighting opportunities come unsought, opening for them the door of the heavenly court. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So, in this section of Bhagavad Gita, specifically from this 31 verse onwards, Lord Shri Krishna, the spiritual master of Arjuna, is giving knowledge to Arjuna from a different perspective. First, he was giving the knowledge from the soul perspective, which is at a much higher perspective. Now, in 31 to 37, he is giving knowledge about karma, karma kanda, not karma yoga, basically karma kanda, which is referred to as fruitive work. That if you do this, you will go to heaven. You will get better results. Because what was Arjuna's point? What was Arjuna thinking earlier? Right? If you remember the reasons for not fighting, these are some of the reasons. Yeah. Why Arjuna didn't want to fight. Number one was compassion for the friends and relatives based on the bodily platform. So that we have already studied. Krishna addresses them in 2.11 to 2.30. Now, the point here, Arjuna said, well, whom will I enjoy with? Even if I'm victorious, I'll not be enjoying. So this section, which we will be studying today, is addressing that question from chapter 1, text 31 to 35, which Arjuna said, well, there will be no enjoyment. But here, the Supreme Lord is telling that if you don't fight, then you will go to hellish planets. And then you will suffer even more. You will not go to heaven. So, a completely paradigm shift here. And it's a great lesson for all of us that we may go to the spiritual master with our own reasoning, thinking, oh, if I do this, this may happen. If I do, that may happen. But the spiritual master, to a surrendered soul, may say, Baba, what you are thinking is totally opposite. Rather, if you don't fight, then the wrong will happen here. Because this fight was not based on some selfish agendas. This fight was Dharma Yuddha. This fight was based on the principles of dharma. So Krishna is clearly telling here Arjuna to fight. There are multiple lessons in this here this point. The point here is that one must do your duties. And as I said, this is not the highest teaching of Bhagavad Gita. Sometimes you ask people, hey, do you know about Bhagavad Gita? Oh, yeah, I know about Bhagavad Gita. Bhagavad Gita tells do your duties, right? This is not the highest teaching of Bhagavad Gita. People say work is worship. This is not the highest teaching of Bhagavad Gita. We will understand later in sections how we can make work as worship. Work can be made as worship, but there is a formula to do it. If the object in the worship, there is an object to be worshipped, correct? Because there is no worship without an object of worship. If that work where the object of worship is just me, my home, my family, I, me, and mine, then it is one's own worship. Then it is not God's worship, correct? Everyone is worshipping. I think we mentioned it in the last class. Everyone is worshipping someone or the other. Are we worshipping the Bollywood actor or the Hollywood actor or our own self or the Supreme Lord Krishna? That may be different. So work can be made worship if it is properly dovetailed in the service of the Lord under the directions of the Supreme Lord and the spiritual master and the scriptures like Bhagavad Gita. So it's an important lesson here is that the teacher here is trying to explain the situation or explain from different perspectives. So first he explained to Arjuna based on jnana or spiritual science about Atma and body, the body and the soul. And then now Krishna is telling based on fruitive enjoyment or religious duty because Arjuna was a Kshatriya. There are four varnas and four ashramas: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. Kshatrayati iti Kshatriya. To hurt the Shatru is Kshatriya, or to protect the like the military force basically, right? So there, in every country there are some soldiers, some defense system to protect the innocent people. That's at least that's the agenda, you know. So Arjuna, his specific duty is Kshatriya, is to fight. Like, and we all have two duties. That's the essence of this. And over here, Srila Prabhupada also mentions in the purport that we all have our two duties. What are the two duties? Our swadharma or conditional duties and our constitutional duties, sanatan dharma. You have to remember these two important points. Conditional duties based on conditions. Like Arjuna's condition is a Kshatriya, a warrior. So he has to fight. The conditional duties, as the name suggests, they are based on conditions. Like Lakshya's condition is that he is a student, right, Lakshya? So his conditional duty is to study and get good grades in his school, right? His duty is not to go and work and maintain the family. That is his father's duty to go work, job, business, etc., and maintain the family. Similarly, mother has a specific duty to take care of the children, take care of the home, and feed the family, etc., um, etc. So we all have specific conditions, and based on conditions, our conditional duty changes. But one duty does not change. Therefore, it is called sanatan, eternal, or constitutional dharma. And what is that duty? That is bhakti. As Prahlad Maharaj says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, that whether one is a small child or whether one is a young or old or male or female, literate or illiterate, educated or wealthy or poor, any situation, whether we are married or unmarried, we have children or no children, the conditional duties may change based on all those situations. But one duty will not change, and that is the spiritual bhakti yoga. And without that, the conditional duties will be futile. These are the verdict of our scriptures. Conditional duty, one may become a big engineer, doctor, lawyer, businessman, entrepreneur, etc., big degrees, etc. They are nice. They are like zeros. If I have 10 zeros, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, how many, what is the total value of those? Can anyone say? If I have just 0, 0, 0, 10 times, what is the value of those?
Just zero, Prabhuji.
0, right? If I have 20 zeros, will it differ?
No.
No. But if I put a 1 before it, then yes, it makes a difference, right? So our conditional accomplishments, the amount of degrees we have, the amount of wealth we may have, the amount of the property or car or all these are external things. Their value is 0 without the one of constitutional duty or the spiritual life or the one of the Supreme Lord. That is the duty arithmetic. Like how we had the spiritual arithmetic for body and soul, this is the arithmetic for two duties. So, in short, we should not compromise on our constitutional duty, and that is the main thing. At the same time, we should not artificially be lazy. Oh, now I'll just give up my duties. Artificial laziness is not encouraged here. So Prabhupada is mentioning in this purport of 31 that as long as one is not liberated, one has to perform the duties of his particular body in accordance with the religious principles. And that's basically called karma kanda. In order to achieve liberation. When there is karma kand, when it is coupled with the devotion to God, it becomes yoga. Right? When it is without devotion to God, it's just karma kand. And what's the destination for karma kand? That's mentioned in text number 32. Right? What does text number 32 tell us? Text number 32 is telling the destination, opening the doors of heavenly planets. So Lord Krishna is giving kind of a lollipop. If you do this, you'll go to heaven. Again, this is not our goal to go to heaven, but this is a understanding. A teacher tells a student the science from different perspectives because some people will be attached to this, some people will be attached to that. Bhagavad Gita is not actually for Arjuna, it is for all of us, so that we can gradually elevate. We can gradually elevate rather than being lazy and lethargic and not doing anything. At least we come to some level and then we situate we gradually link it to from karma kand to karma yoga. That's basically the yoga ladder. This is sakam karma yoga, fruitive sakam karma kand, or the fruitive one. That you do this, you get this. You don't do this, you don't get it. So discharging one's specific duty in any field of action in accordance with the orders of the higher authorities serves to elevate one to a higher status of life. Very, very important point. So, in short, one must not be lazy in discharging one's duty. And sometimes we have already discussed this point. Like for sometimes it's difficult, right? We don't feel like going to office. We don't feel like cooking. Raise your hand if you have ever felt like, for those who cook or those who go to schools, right? Our conditional duties, we don't feel like going to school, we don't feel like going to office, we don't feel like cooking, we don't feel like cleaning the house, right? It happens, right? But guess what, we have to do it. That's the test of tolerance, uh, because it will help us to, it will uplift us if it is the right thing to do based on our conditions. And then when we couple it with Krishna consciousness, then it becomes spiritual. Then it becomes spiritual. In short, one should be dutiful, at least in this section. I think you all want to hear a story, right? How many of you want to hear a story? Okay, all of you are very, very calm. You like stories. Okay, so I'll tell a story from the treasure hunt. Okay, this is about responsibly doing our duties. So one time there was Sakaram and Lakshmi. They were a very hardworking couple, mm, in the village of Lakhanpur. And they had firm faith in the god. They had large piece of land, and they had four children, and they were doing farming. The children were somehow very lazy and not in a very eager mood to rise up early or do their duties. So they were just kind of, you know, chill out. So they would not be and just be busy gossiping with other villagers, just wasting their time. So Sakharam, the father, was concerned, right? Won't the father be concerned if the children are all lazy bums, good, doing nothing and just procrastinating, just gossiping? So then he kind of said to engage these children in some task that, my dear children, I am about to give up my body. Okay. And I'm on my deathbed. Now I want all of you to kind of, mm, please try to understand that whatever wealth I had, I have put in the ground in the form of gold coins. But I'll not tell you where it is. Okay. So now you dig the ground and figure out your wealth. Hmm? Now, gold coins. Well, who doesn't want gold coins in this world? Everyone wants gold. Okay, we'll dig here and there. They started to till the land here and there, one going in the north side, one going in the east side, and west side, and southern side. Everywhere they were kind of tilling the land in the piece of land the father had. So, and what happened when the mother came? They couldn't find the gold coins. And the mother came and said, well, you have done so much hard work. Now, better you put the seeds also in here. Otherwise, all your hard work also will go in vain. So he said, well, it's a good idea. Well, the hard work was done. They put in seeds and put water, irrigation, etc. And guess what? They got wonderful harvest in some time. Mm, right? So they got wonderful harvest and then they made huge profits out of it after selling the yield, and then they got good crops for their families, and then they got the good profits out of by selling. Then the father told me that this is the real wealth. Mm. So hard work should not be compromised. Now that does not mean that one works, okay, hard work should not be compromised and we go to the other extreme. Other extreme mean just working hard like a dog or like an ass, sometimes we say. uh, Scriptures don't encourage over endeavor also. So there's a nice balance we need to have. We're not saying, oh, work double jobs, work 16 hours a day, so that all your one is doing sometimes is just working and sleeping. Many people like that, working 18 hours, 16 hours, all they do. And these are like role models. I mean, and they proudly say, like, nowadays this guy, Elon Musk, everyone may have heard this person. He proudly says, oh, I have an 80-hour work schedule. That means 16 hours a day if you just count the weekdays. 16 hours means just you have like 8 hours left, right? That sounds crazy. So we don't want to have that kind of lifestyle either, even if we get the diamonds and the pearls of the world, right? So that's a matter of choice to nicely balance, to do the dutiful work, because things will come not because of just hard work. Things will come because of hard work and Krishna's mercy. Both the factors are required. But in here, Arjuna had the opinion, let me go to forest and just give up this fighting business. That Krishna is discouraging. Mm. So we should listen to the Guru, listen to the advice of the Supreme Lord, and do our best. And then whatever comes, accept it. That's the verdict of the scriptures. And that's like a kind of a total paradigm shift here. That Arjuna was thinking that, well, if I don't fight, then it will lead to happiness, but it will lead to hellish situations. So now we move on to the next verse, which is text number 33. अथचेतत्वम् imam dharmyam sangramam na karishyasi ततः swadharmam kirtim cha hitva papam avapsyasi. Avijit Prabhu, please, you can read. You have your hand up. Would you like to read? Anyone wants to read text 33?
I can read Prabhuji. Hare Krishna devotees. If, however, you do not perform this religious duty of fighting, then you will certainly incur sins for neglecting your duties and thus lose your reputation as a fighter. Back to Prabhuji.
Thank you. Thank you so much. You see a total paradigm shift here. Because Arjuna was thinking that if I don't fight, I'll be glorious. Rather, opposite will happen. So, a kirtim. Kirti means to glorify or fame. But what will happen? Infamy will happen. A kirtim. Let's read the 34th also. A kirtim chapi bhutani कथयिष्यन्ति ते अव्ययं सम्भावितस्य च कीर्तिर्मरणाद् अतिरिच्यते. Yes, Shreya Mataji, you I think wanted to read.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. People will always speak of your infamy, and for a respectable person, dishonor is worse than death.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Number 35, and then we will discuss these three verses. Bhayadranad uparatam Mamshyante tvam maharatha yesham cha tvam maha tvam bahumato bhutva yasyasi laghavam. Yes, Megha Mataji, you want to do?
Hare Krishna. The great generals who have highly esteemed your name and fame will think that you have left the battlefield out of fear only, and thus they will consider you insignificant.
Thank you.
Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. A lot of important points here, a lot of practical lessons also. So, what's happening here? Arjuna was thinking why he didn't want it to fight, because, well, the women will have no one to protect them. He was soft hearted, in short, right? He couldn't see the pain of others. It's a very good sign to be soft hearted. But Krishna is kind of changing gears here, that if you don't fight, what do you think? That people will think, oh, look at the soft hearted Arjuna. Oh, he's so noble, so great that he didn't fight, although he had the Pashupati Astra from Lord Shiva, although he had so many benedictions and so many blessings from the great demigods, Indra, Chandra, Surya, etc. And look at the noble Arjuna. He chose not to fight. That's not going to happen, my dear Arjuna. Rather people will think, oh, look at that coward, look at that fearful Arjuna. When the time of battle came, he chose not to fight. That's very cowardly, because for a Kshatriya to run away from the battlefield is very, very cowardly. There was a king once, story time. There was a king once, and then he had gone to fight, and then um, when the queen, when the team was in the fort, when they got to know that the king has running away from the battle, he said, don't open the doors, don't open the door of the fort, because to that's like that is such a defame or infamy to see that a great Kshatriya has ran away from the battlefield. That's worse than death for a Kshatriya. That's what Krishna is telling. That this dishonor for a respectable person, dishonor will be worse than death. Only one person gets famous by running away from the battlefield. Run short. That is Krishna. No one else gets famous. Rana means yuddha. As we hear this word, Rana, Rana means war. Chod means to leave. Arjuna, you will not get famous. Rather, you will get defamed. Another lesson is in general, that's how gossip spread. How gossip spread, we don't know the true thing. And one person says, hey, do you know why Arjuna flew the battle? Maybe he was very, very fearful. Oh yeah, I think he was very fearful. Yeah, I think he couldn't tolerate Karna. He couldn't tolerate this. So like that, gossiping and criticism and that's how this is spreads. And even though the person may have some good intentions or good agendas behind the story, those will not come out. Correct? So Krishna is telling Arjuna and what will be your future if you leave the battlefield. Correct? It's like a student. It's the day of the exam. Imagine some of your students are also present. So let me give this example. If you are all set for the exam, you have done a lot of hard work. You know, a great student will wait. Yes, that's the day I was waiting for. Like a great Kshatriya waits for the exam or waits for the battle. That's the day I was waiting for. His blood is boiling. Similarly, a student is waiting. Yes, I'm all ready. I'm sure I'm going to excel with my hard work and with the blessings of God. But at the day of exam, that's what is happening. The day of exam, he has a change of heart. He's saying, oh, let my friend be victorious in this. Let me be compassionate on my friend and let me just stay at the back. And do you think teachers and other friends will say, oh, look at the noble soul? He was so kind. He let others get, good grades and he just didn't, he kept failing class after class so that others could get the A grades, others could. Would anyone say like that? No, they'll say, oh, look at the coward. Look at the maybe a fool number one. Look at the person who couldn't face the exams. He must have not studied. Oh, he must not be prepared. He must be emotionally and mentally and academically weak. Correct? So a different perspective from the examination point. So, in short, Krishna is telling that, my dear child, you don't know the future, but I do know. Krishna knows everything. So, in short, again, we should not give up our duties. We should not make mental castles or build castles in air. Because Arjuna was building castles, right? If I do this, this would happen, that would happen, this would, without consulting Guru, right? Sometimes we build mental castles or like dream castles. Shall I tell you a story? Building castles in the air? Yes or yes? Yes, okay. Gopal Bhan was a kind of a minister in the court of Raja Krishnachand of Nadia. Okay. He was very, very intelligent, very intelligent minister. In just next to his house, there was um, a poor man, a poor family who didn't have a lot. At the same time, they were always, kind of daydreaming. Daydreaming. Oh, so once upon a time, this is very interesting. Hear carefully. Very interesting story. One day, the husband said to the wife, well, do you know, my dear wife, if I had some money, I would buy a few cows. I would buy a lot of cows from the money. And then we would have a lot of milk. And then we will sell that milk and get a lot of profits from that milk. Wife got so excited. Wow, I'll make a lot of butter and a lot of ghee and a lot of yogurt and milk products. And I will also send those to my sister. The husband got mad. What? He roared in anger. Send milk to your sister? Send these cow products to your sister? How dare you suggest such a thing in front of me? And he gave his wife a disrespectful look. And then The wife said, well, we would have extra milk. You are going to get so many cows anyways. We'll have dozens of cows. So what's wrong in sending a few, milk products to my sister? He said, no, 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 no. We are going to sell it to get more profit. We are not going to send it to your sister. I don't want any more sub talks on this subject. I'm so infuriated by this, and that I'm going to, break all the pots we have so that you don't have the any pots to send milk or anything to your sister. So he started to take all the pots he had, boom, break on the ground. These were real pots. He's all the clay pots they had, boom, boom, boom. He started to break. And guess what? Gopal Dhan was passing by. He said, what's going on? He said, this plan I had, what if one day we have the money, we'll have the cows, we'll have the milk, we'll have a lot of ghee and yogurt and milk products. And my wife was suggesting it to send to her sister. I don't want that to happen, so I'm breaking all the pots. So Gopal then said, um, to, he took a stick in his hand and was, chasing, ha, 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 ha. He said, what are you doing? Are you crazy? He said, well, your cows are eating the cucumbers in my field. He said, well, you don't even have field, you don't even have cucumbers. How come, your cows are eating? Eh, he said, as you have the cows, so I have the field and I have the cucumbers and I'm chasing them away. So in short, then this person realized the message that don't just talk big things. One person sent me a list, kind of a very comic or sarcastic image, because these are like a funny thing, but it speaks a deep message. He gave a he sometimes drew a painting, like he drew a painting and said, if anyone finds faults in this painting, kindly encircle it. Okay, you got the point. Kindly encircle it. And at the end of the day, he came, he put it in the public place, and at the end of the day, there were 1,000 circles. Someone find this thing wrong, someone find that thing wrong, someone find that thing wrong, and this thing wrong. Basically, they could only see wrong things. And this was a very accomplished painter. So it was a masterpiece. And then he went to his teacher, said, I'm feeling a little dejected. All they could see is, okay, if it would have been like one or two mistakes, I would have still kind of bothered to correct it. But now, thousands, the whole painting is ruined, and then I don't know where to start, where to end. He says, the teacher said, now, my dear child, do the same painting and put a note. If you see any mistake in here, kindly correct it. The next day he came. There was absolutely nothing there, right? And everyone had good comments. So the point is, it's easy to talk and daydream and develop plans. And like there was a list, kind of three queues, or people waiting in three queues. The list of the critics. Oh, this is wrong. This is right. This is not good. This is was the biggest. The list of people who just give ideas, that was the second biggest. And guess how many people were there in the list of doers? Zero. So that happens in, I'm sure, in our workplaces. Giving ideas, giving critics is very easy, but when it comes to action, then it's not so easy. But fixing things is not so easy. Giving ideas or um, so, but here Sri Krishna is telling Arjuna that focus on your specific duty as your Kshatriya. Don't daydream. Don't talk about fantasy things, because I know what's going to happen. I know you're thinking that you will get fame and recognition by going to forest for not fighting, but actually opposite is going to happen. It will be worse than going to death. So you think you will be able to enjoy by not fighting, rather you will suffer more by not fighting. So sometimes Guru's instructions are hard, because Arjuna is a disciple of his of Lord Krishna, and Arjuna Then say, hey, why are you giving me tough instructions? This is the duty of the Guru to give tough instructions, provided the disciple is ready. The disciple wants to hear those. And a true disciple will understand. So Krishna is telling clearly here, fight. Hmm? Fight for the sake of fighting. Don't talk about the fairy tales. Don't chase the cows from the field. So let's hear some more verses. Anyone has any comments? Let's take some quick comments here before we read a few more verses. Anyone? Any reflection? Any comments so far from what we have studied? Yeah. Anything struck you? Nothing struck you? Okay. Okay. I think the government did pass the rule for being shy. So, okay, maybe we'll request them to do something for our peoples, to an exemption, I guess. So, okay, I think you'll share after these few verses. So we read till which verse? Did we read 35?
36.
35 we
36.
read. Okay, perfect.
35.
So 36. अवाच्यवादंश्च बाहून् वदिष्यन्ति तवाहितः निन्दन्तस्तव सामर्थ्यं ततो दुःखः तरं नु किम्. Yes, Aparna Mataji, you want to read this translation?
Hare Krishna. Your enemies will describe you in many unkind words and scorn you, your ability. What could be more painful for you? Purport.
Yeah, just
Lord Krishna.
translation. Thank you, Mataji. So, thank you for reading. I think we discussed this point that your enemies will not say, "Look at the noble Arjuna, look at the kind, soft-hearted Arjuna." Rather, they'll say, "Hey, look at the coward, look at that like Bhagoda, look at the Ranchod. He flew from the battle when it's time to fight. He must be a coward." And uh, so basically, Krishna disapproved Arjuna's so-called compassion. So-called compassion is not encouraged. When it's time to fight, when a student is about to study and then give the exam, it's not time to for weakness of heart, right? When let's say you have your interview for a job, or you have to perform your best, it's not a time, oh, let others get this job, I'll just stay at the back, maybe I'll answer it wrongly, maybe I just don't show up for the interview. That's a sign of laziness, that's a sign of cowardness. No one will say, oh, he must be a very great soul, he let others get this job, right? Will anyone say like that? No, it's time for action. The time of action, we must do our best action. And then, you know, the devotees mentioned that when it's time to action, we must do action as if everything is dependent on the action. Very, very important. You should not say, oh, if Krishna wants, I will pass in the exam. That we have to worry after doing the action. Right? There's a big difference in these two approaches. Right? If a student says, well, if I have to pass, I'll pass, correct? If Krishna, oh, it's me to pass, I'll pass. No, at the time of studying, we have to think, I have to do my 100%. I have to do, whether it's my job, whether it's my family, whether it's my studies, whether it's my business. After doing the action, after writing the exam, with the best of our intelligence, with the best of our actions, then we have to depend on God. Like it's if it's a farmer, imagine in a village, if they sow the crops, and sowing the crops is action of the farmer, tilling the land, putting the seeds, etc. It needs hard work, right? If the farmer thinks, no, let me just relax, if there are no good rains, anyways the crop will not happen, right? Correct. So the rains here define the mercy of God. But if the farmer has not done the dutiful action, the hard work, no matter there is best of the rains, will there be good yield? No. So First, do our best, then depend on the rest. Without doing our best, if we depend on the rest for Krishna, then the Lord will not. God helps those who help themselves. Very, very important point. So we have to be dependent. The other extreme is no, 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 no. I don't believe in God, everything. I'm a self made man or a self made woman. Forget about God. Forget. I can do anything. I can, buy anything. I can get any job. I can go to any school, college. I'm a self made person. That's the other extreme people go to. It's not like that. There may be one or two cases, right? One or two cases, and that too also in their destiny, right? But saying that you can make a cycle into a Mercedes car, a cycle doesn't become a Mercedes car by being a self-realized or self-made cycle, right? So the point is that yes, there is destiny, there is role of destiny. Absolutely, that's God's mercy. Destiny also can be changed, but there is role of hard work also. So a nice balance of those, hard work coupled with Krishna's mercy, is the best balance. Without hard work, whether it's a student, whether it's a woman or a man or any role, any profession, any business, it won't work out. So hard work is required. Laziness is not encouraged by scriptures. Prematurely giving up, oh, let me just retire, let me just pray. Yes, it's fine, but at the right time, right? So Jad Bharat's story we all know. He went to the forest and got attached to a deer. He was at a very advanced stage actually. He was not just an ordinary soul. He was at a very advanced stage and he retired. And what happened? He got attached to the deer. Imagine, deer, deer. Where are you? He was saying, oh. And then he would come and disturb his worship. He'd say, okay, no problem. You are my cute little deer. No problem. Keep doing, keep licking my paraphernalia for the puja. No problem. Oh, you threw my kamandalu, you threw my lamb. No problem. Oh, you're jumping on my beads. No problem. Attachment. So, and next life, guess what? He was looking for the deer, deer, deer. Where's my deer, deer? And he became a deer. Antakale chamami vasmaran muktva kalivaram yaprayati samadbhava yati nati astra sanshaya. So he became deer because of, I would not say immature, because he was certainly a great soul, but many people immaturely do it. And then without guidance, anything done without guidance with Guru Sadhu Shastra will lead to disaster. Although it may seem very lofty, right? In chapter 1, when we were talking about Arjuna's reason, they seem quite logical, right? They seem quite reasonable. They do seem. But here, Krishna is like kind of clarifying things. In Hindi, they say, Doodh ka doodh, pani ka pani. This guy is completely saying that what you were thinking was completely wrong. It will lead to opposite reaction. You were thinking that will lead to great reaction, but it will lead to opposite 180-degree switch. So therefore, we need spiritual master. Again and again, this is emphasized here. Text 37. Hato va prapasyaси swargam jitva va bhokshase mahim tasmad uttishta kaunteya yuddhaya krita nishchayah. Anyone wants to read? Yes, Nidhi. No, I can't hear you. So Sampada Mataji.
Hare Krishna translation. O son of Kunti, either you will be killed on the battlefield and attain the heavenly planets, or you will conquer and enjoy the earthly kingdom. Therefore, get up with determination and fight. Hare Krishna. Back to you, Babaji.
Thank you. Get up, Uttishta. Come on. Bounce back. Kaunteya, oh, son of Kunti, remembering the great heritage. Your heritage is not of weak people. You are the son of Kunti. You are the great warrior. Reminding, like how now Ramnavami is coming, how Jambavant reminded Hanuman of his real position. Get up. Oh, Hanuman, you can cross over anything. What is this tiny ocean in front of you? So sometimes we need that boost. We need that someone who uplift us, who tell us, Uttishta, come on, get up, right? Don't be in this, don't cook up your own mental fantasies. Don't cook up your these crazy air castles. Come to reality and do the right action and move forward. So we all need that spiritual mentor. Therefore, Guru. It's all about someone helping us genuinely to see the right course with the right intentions. Krishna was Arjuna's best well-wisher. Guru is the best well-wisher for the disciple and encouraging him to fight very, very clearly. Get up with determination, nishchaya. Don't get lost here and there. Don't think of these air castles. Come on, get up and fight. It will, if you get killed, hmm, either you will be killed, right? Two outcomes will happen on the battlefield, or you will conquer and enjoy. So in both cases, the outcome will be good for you. But if you don't fight, the outcome will be worse for you. You are thinking outcome will be great, but the outcome will be worse. People will talk rumors about you. People will say, hey, look at the coward Arjuna. So in short, get up, fight. So this is called Karma Kanda section. To go to heavenly planets. Most people say, what's the goal of life? Oh, Swarg Jana. You want to go to heaven. But that's not the real goal. This is one level of understanding, but there's a higher understanding also. But Krishna is gradually taking us to deeper levels. Now we will go to a little higher level of understanding from text 38. Sukha dukhe same kritva labha labhau jayaj ajau tato yuddhaya yujyasvan nevam papam avapsyasi. Yes, anyone who hasn't read yet?
Can I
Yes,
read?
yes, please.
Hare Krishna, everyone. Do thus fight for the sake of fighting, without considering happiness or distress, loss or gain, victory or defeat, and by so doing, you shall never incur sin. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Prabhupada mentions a wonderful line in this purport that he who has completely surrendered himself in the activities of Krishna consciousness is no longer obliged to anyone nor is a debtor to anyone as one is in the ordinary course of activities. Very, very important verse. Devarshi bhutat paninam pitrinam naking karunayam rinim charajan sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parihritya kartam. Anyone who is completely surrendered to Krishna, Mukunda, giving up all other duties, is no longer debtor, nor is he obliged to anyone, nor the demigods, nor the sages, nor the people in general, nor the kinsmen, nor the humanity or the forefathers. So, Krishna is kind of now telling the knowledge based on the level of higher principle, Nishkam Karma Yoga. Earlier, he was telling Sakam Karma. Sakam karma means karma kand. If you do this, you will go where? Destination would be heavenly planets or Swargaloka. You will enjoy there. So sometimes the teacher encourages from this perspective, sometimes from that perspective. But Krishna is giving us that the work should be in a detached way, not just fight, not think, hey, I will lose here, I will win here. What will happen if I be victorious? Not what will happen if I be a failure. Correct? A student may think, well, what will happen if I don't get good grades? What will happen if I don't pass in the exam? Um, don't worry about all those things. We have to do our best endeavor, keeping aside sukha, dukkha, labha, alabha, jaya, ajay. Three things are mentioned here. Sukha, dukkha. It could like happiness or distress. Jai or ajay. Like sometimes we do things which are uh, not very, which may not lead to success, right? Correct? I'm sure we all have experienced those things. But if we don't even try, if we stop working, then it will never be like the famous example of Einstein. If he would have thought, okay, one time he tried to build the bulb and failed, 1,000 times he failed, right? But keep endeavoring in under the right guru and in the right guru and sadhu and shastra. So fight for the sake of fighting. So do our duties for the sake of doing our duties. That's the message here. So Krishna is telling that to, to come on the duty platform more here. Nishkam Karma Yoga, without reaction, detached work. Nishkam Karma, detached work without the reactions. Because fighting is his duty. So don't think about gain or loss. Because what does the normal person will think? What is in it for me, right? If the mother thinks, well, let me take care of the child because the child will serve me and take care of me in future, that's not a very healthy approach. Or my child will mera naam roshan karega, my child will make me famous, or my child will do something which I didn't achieve. This is laden with expectation of sukha. Oh, my child will give me happiness. Oh, my child will do this for me. Oh, my child. That will not be the best parenthood. Correct? You all agree as parents? But if you do your duty as a parent without expectations, that I have to do my best as a parent, as a mother, or as a father, I have to do my best for the child. What will happen to him or her in the future is not in my control. But in the right age, I will give the best sanskaras under the guidance of scriptures, under the guidance of spiritual master, and do my best without expectations. Because when there is expectations laden, it doesn't, give great results. So we should do our duties in the best possible way. This is the higher principle. The lower principle was enjoyment. Oh, I will do my duty because my child will give me enjoyment in the future. That's a lower principle. But here, there is a higher principle being discussed. Forget about the joy or the pain which will come. That whatever is destined will come. We have to do our best under the proper guidance. And that applies to any case and every case. That doing our best without thinking of what will happen, what will be the future. Let's take a few more verses and then we can take some. ईशा ते अभिहिता संख्ये बुद्धिर्योगे तव इमं शृणु बुद्धया युक्तो यया पार्था कर्म बंधं प्रहास्यसि. Anyone who hasn't read? Mishuk Prabhu, you want to read? I think
Yes,
Karthik Prabhu.
Prabhuji.
Yeah, you want to read?
Yes,
Thank you
Prabhuji.
for joining.
Uh, Thus far, I have described this knowledge to you through analytical study. Now listen as I explain it in terms of working without fruitive results. O son of Purta, when you act in such knowledge, you can free yourself from the bondage of works.
Hare Krishna. So this is one of the 5 main topics of Bhagavad Gita, karma. Right? We have already discussed about identity, the soul or atma. We are talking about karma. So first we talk about sakam karma, or also known as karma. That karma has reactions. Correct? That karma has reactions, either good reactions if the action is good, for example, aligned with the shastra, like Arjuna was about to do. Kshatriya's duty is to fight. Okay, fight, go to heaven. That's a calm karma, enjoyment based. But there is one reaction, there is one type of karma which can free from the bondage of work. That is called akarma. So let's read this beautiful purport section of it. Here we are at 39, right? Yes. So, yeah. Arjuna's proposal not to fight was based on sense gratification. Forgetting his prime duty, he wanted to cease fighting because he thought that by not killing his relatives and kinsmen, he would be happier than by enjoying the kingdom after conquering the cousins and the brothers, etc. In both the ways, the basic principle was sense gratification. What is in it for me? Right? That's what everyone does. Why I should do this? How it will please my senses. So if that's a very low platform. What is in it for me? Great souls don't work on that. Great souls are udar, they're broad-minded. Happiness derived from conquering them, and happiness, mm, yeah. So I think this is the point I wanted to share. In short, Krishna is telling, get above the principle of sense gratification. We already discussed this with the example of parenting. So he shared the analytical body and soul role, and then he will talk about a higher principle, that is Buddhi Yoga, or Sankhya Yoga, sometimes analytical study, Jnana Yoga. So we will study this section in more details next time, because it's a pretty important section till text number 53. It talks about, of course, the two duties we are talking about, the conditional duties and the constitutional duties section keeps going till text number 53. So maybe the following verses we'll take one last verse, and then we will, because it's an important verse in text number 40, and then we will pause and take the next ones till 53 in the next session. Neha Vikramanashosti Pratyavayo na vidyate Swalpamapi asya dharmasya Trayate mahato bhayat. Yes, Karthik Prabhu, please.
Hare Krishna devotees. In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Isn't that amazing? This is referred to akarma, or spiritual actions. In the spiritual actions, there is no reverse gear. If one makes little progress, one will not fall down. One will kind of keep going, keep going. In the material life, let's say one does a PhD studies. In the next lifetime, will he get a job or she get a job saying, "Oh, I had a PhD in my last life. Please give me the job for as a PhD, whatever the job is again." Will it happen? What do you think, Vedi? No, right? You agree? It will not happen. But in spiritual life, it does happen. Talking about the Jad Bharat story, he did get, you know, distracted for a little while, but he could remember that, oh, my distraction was because of my attachment towards deer. So in the next life as a deer, he was hearing Krishna Katha, he was being in the association of saints, and then very soon he got the birth as Jad Bharat, and then after that he went back home, back to Godhead. In short, in spiritual life, there is no loss. Even little progress on this path can save one from the greatest. Trayate mahato bhayat. Material life and spiritual life are a little opposite. In material life, one may be one could have great kaya, great kanchan, and great kamini. Correct? That means great body, great wealth, and great desires, great qualifications. But at the time of death, will they all matter? The story of the fool king, the story of this man with 4 wives. They will not be able to rescue. Lot of hard work cannot save from the tiniest of the dangers. Right? Couldn't save. But even in spiritual life, little progress can save from the biggest dangers. The famous example of Ajamil. Ajamil was a great Brahmana, but somehow he born a very nice family. very nice culture. Somehow he got this. It's a very long story in the Bhagavatam. He got distracted by some bad association, and then he was into bad company, doing just sense gratification, doing all sorts of nonsense things, and busy in bad association and bad activities. But at the time of death, he did one thing great. When his time of death came, when the Yamadutas came, the messengers of death, Yamaraj came, he chanted Narayana, Narayana, Narayana. And guess what? He chanted the four-syllable word Narayana, and four Vishnudutas came to rescue him. Little advancement can save one from greatest danger. The degrees won't save, the wealth won't save, the money won't save, nothing could save at that point. What could save was his surrender to the Supreme Lord, the little progress, the little spiritual life. So, my dear friends, devotees, so the more, even if little thing can help us so much, guess someone, if one is sincerely doing it regularly every day, what will be the situation of that person? Correct? So it's kind of in a way to help us understand that it doesn't mean that we should also wait till the deathbed and like a Jamil and say, I'll chant like a Jamil. That's an idea to help us understand the power of spiritual life, the power of akarma, the power of bhakti. Even if one does little, it gives unlimited results. What to speak of person who is regularly, sincerely under guidance and doing it as per the Guru Sadhu Shastra, as per the words of Srila Prabhupada. That person can't imagine the destination. So, in the spiritual life, there is no failure. Well, Ram Navami is coming, and just I'll share the story of Jatayu. Jatayu was the vulture who Mata Sita was kidnapped by Ravana, and Jatayu saw this. Jatayu was old. His wings were also kind of withered. His strength was less. He knew that I can't win over this powerful Ravana, correct? And but he still fought his best. Hmm. Was he successful or was he a failure? Who all say he was successful? Raise your hand. Who all says successful? Who all say he was failure? Hmm. Who all say? In the eyes of material world, he was a failure, correct? Because he failed in the mission to protect Mata Sita. An ordinary person would say like that, correct? Right? That he couldn't save Mata Sita. Ravana still kidnapped and went to Lanka, right? So in the material world, when a project is not accomplished, you can't say, well, I tried, this is not done. Will they will they give you the credit? No. In material world, they won't give the credit. They'll say, well, I tried to pass the exam, but I failed. Okay, now get out. Right? That's what they'll say. So they in material world, efforts are seen. Sorry, the results are seen. They won't care for the efforts. They won't care for the intentions. But in spiritual life, it's totally opposite. The Lord sees the intentions. The Lord does not see the externals. The Lord sees the internal. So in the eyes of the Lord, he was a great success. Even more success, just imagine Dashrath Maharaj, the father of the Supreme Lord Ram. When he died, all his sons were out. He couldn't get the fortune to be even, the last rites were not done by his sons because they were all out at the time of his death. But the great Jatayu left his life, that means took the final breaths of his life in the lap of Lord Ram. What could be a bigger success? The Lord Supreme, Lord Ram came to do his final rites. He said to Jatayu, Jatayu, the pain of my father's death was not, much. The pain of Mata Sita was nothing incomparable to see you, who is the friend of my father. This is much more painful to me. That is the love for Lord Ram, just because he tried to help Mata Sita. So this is bhakti. This is spiritual life. So in material world, If I say to my, like manager or even anything, I did my best, kindly consider, kindly, pass me in the exam. Will the teacher say, no, sorry, you didn't, the results matter. Let's say if someone studied very, very hard for the exam and very intelligent, but they somehow got some disease or whatever, they couldn't even appear for the exam. Anything happened, will the examination authorities say, well, oh, we consider your efforts, the intentions? No, sorry, you didn't pass the exam, get out. This is material world. But in spiritual life, little endeavor can lead to greatest results. Prabhupada is mentioning a beautiful point here. Material activities and their results end with this body. Right? We discussed the example of one could be PhD, one could be a millionaire in this life. But in next life, one could be born in a beggar's family. One could be born in an ant hole. Correct? We have discussed the hinosminyatha dehe, vansansajirnani yatha vihaya, that the body changes. But in Krishna consciousness, a person carries the Krishna consciousness even after the loss of the body. Very, very important point. In short, in bhakti, there is no loss. So, an intelligent person would try to invest there where there is no loss, isn't it? Right? Would we invest in the account which will be lost after some time? Right? But unfortunately, all of us do that, right? Majority of the population, all they invest in the body's account, the Kaya, Kamini, and Kanchan's account. And no one, very, very few rare soul invest in the Karuna's account. That Karuna's account, I hope you're all getting the points here. Kaya refers to body, Kamini refers to the goal, wealth, etc. Kamini refers to desire, Kanchan refers to goal. But Karuna is the relationship with the Supreme Lord. If you're not sure what we're talking about, then you have to go back and hear yesterday's or the last discussion, session number 8, in case you missed it. So the story of 4 wives. Which account we should invest more? I'm not saying stop caring for the body, family, or home or job. We do have to do our dutiful endeavor, but coupled with spiritual life. That's the best thing. So I guess we'll pause here, take some reflection, some questions or some comments. Anyone has? Anyone wants to share anything? Any comments? Any reflections? Reflection is something which, any point which really struck you. Any
text
Mhm.
40,
Yes, please.
there is a referral of Ajimala.
Ajamila, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I did share the story that how he called out Narayana when he was at the deathbed. He was born in a Brahmana family and very, very cultured, but somehow got carried in the bad association and did a lot of wrong things. But at the fag end of his life, because Yamadutas were supposed to come, and because he did a lot of bad activities, if one does bad activities, then one will go to hell. And Yamadutas were all ready to take his body, and then he called out for his son Narayana. So little endeavor, unknowingly called the Supreme Lord's name. He was not calling for the Lord Narayana. So that's the reference here, which we briefly discussed. So if you want to discuss in detail, it will take at least an hour or half an hour and a half. But I can share for those who want to hear in more detail the story, the Katha of Ajamil. Is that okay? Any reflections? Anyone has? Okay. Any questions before we stop for today? Is everything working out? Is the
Like other classes, you take quiz. So on Sunday, when we are attending classes, in some of the Sundays, you can take our test
sure
also.
a test? How many of you want to give a test?
That is a sort of a quiz. how
Quiz,
much we
yes,
have
quiz.
gained.
Okay, how many of you would like to give a quiz or some kind of test? Okay, I see a few hands. Okay, so of course, I'll give a prior notification. That's a good idea. Yeah, there's a time for feedback also. There's a flow going okay. So, of course, it's a good feedback. I'll try to incorporate that soon. And of course, I'll let everyone know about it as well. So, any other feedback? Is the pace going okay? You all comfortable? You all getting the subject matter? Okay. Anything else? Yes.
It reminds me one thing, Prabhu, like as about the Ajamil as we talk, like Lintel Endeavor. So it reminds me name of my son because we don't know how much we can do, or because we are not on that level. So at least calling our son name like Ram and Raghav, we don't know if it how much it's helping, but yeah, like so it always help keeping our kids' name related to the name of God. So yeah.
Amazing. That's really wonderful. And therefore, in India, even of course the Indian or the Vedic, the people try to follow these. It's a very good idea. Knowingly, unknowingly, we'll chant God's names, even if you're calling our son, daughter. There are so many spiritual names. It's a very good idea. Certainly, it will help because even if one calls unknowingly or unintentionally, the Lord takes it seriously. What to speak of someone knowingly and intentionally calls?
But sometimes, like we call their name in anger also. So how does that impact you?
Then I'll tell you a story. Want to hear a story?
Yeah, sure. Prabhu.
One time there was a businessman, and he also said, "I'll follow Ajamil's formula." He had a cloth merchant. He said he had three children: Om, Jai, Jagadish. He said, "I'll keep my all the three children names as Om, Jai, Jagadish, God's names." Wonderful. But he didn't try to himself do any bhakti. All his life he had, we'll read that next time, Vyavasatmika Buddhi. He had Vyavasatmika Buddhi towards business, not towards bhakti. We have to have the single pointed attention, like focus, like the light is coming right now by behind me. But if I concentrate with the medium of lens, it can burn the paper. Right now, it cannot burn the paper because it's spread out, right? But the same light has the ability to burn the paper, focused. Vyavasatmika Buddhi. So his intention, that businessman's intention was one pointed: how I can increase my sales, how I can improve my profits, how I can spread my cloth merchant, being a cloth merchant, shop anywhere and everywhere and throughout the world. Okay. And someone said, well, keep your children names Jayam, Jai, Jagadish, but he'll call them. But the focus was just business, 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 business. The sons grew, they took over the business, but this father, all these are foolish people. They don't know how to increase the business. So they are watching movies, they are eating out. They should focus on business, right? Sometimes a person I've seen, so people are so dedicated to their business, over passionate, overdoing, over endeavor, just business. 20 hours, just business. They'll eat there, sleep there, drink there. Everything is business only. Just that much attachment if we have towards Krishna, things will be totally different. Nonetheless, time passed by. One thing does not change. Death will certainly knock the doors. The death knocked the doors. This time, this person was at the deathbed. And guess what? Whatever was going in his consciousness was what? What? Anyone? Any guesses? What was going on in his consciousness? Yes, Sampradam Mataji.
His business.
His business, very good, because that's what he has been thinking throughout. He called out, and now he's in pain also, but the business is still in the mind. And he called out, Om, Jai, Jagadish, where are you? Like Narayana. Ajamil called out. Narayana. So he called Om Jai Jagadishwar, and they all were there. A person dying wants to see his children. He said maybe like we should be there. We can close the shop for one day at least. It's not a big deal. Okay, we don't have. We're not like starving of hunger. It will not be end of the world if we close the shop for a day or two when the father is dying. So they closed the shop, came here at the home, and this father, Arey Baba, all three of you are here. Who will take care of the shop? If the customers come, who will serve them? And that's how he left and became an ant in the his clothes shop. So therefore, we have to have a nice balance. So calling children's name is great, but we should not just rely on that. And I'll just call my children's name as Radha or Govinda or Gopal or Ram or Krishna or Lakshman, Arjuna. These are all nice, very nice. These are like additional bonus. But if one thinks that, oh, my 100% attention is on business only, then Krishna will reciprocate accordingly. We'll get some subtle benefit. I'm not saying the name of the Lord will never go in vain. That's for sure. But when we know that fact, right, the point is, then why don't we take it seriously? Why do we keep investing our 100% of our time and energy in the wrong bank account? So when we know that this is not the real bank account, which will help us after, read the purport, material activities and their result will end after this body, the end. Spiritual activities will go forever. So material accomplishments, whether one is rich or poor, or it will all end after, whether a rich man or a poor man, they all take the same space the ashes are same, the graveyard is same, pretty much everything is same. After that, who cares? They had $0 or $1 billion. They had a mansion, or they were at a jhopadi or a hut. So in short, that's aspect is fine. That's additional bonus. But if we are mature, intelligent, then we should certainly spend some qualitative time to build our relationship with the Supreme Lord. That will give us much, much, much more spiritual merits. That's the story. Okay, I think a little over time here, so I apologize about that. So we will pause here and take the next verse next time on next Saturday. That's April 10th. So thank you again. And of course, I see some of you are reading and some of you are kind of, taking it very seriously, which is very good. So this spreadsheet, which I have been kind of maintaining, it would be great if you can just keep this updated, and this will help you on also. This will help you in being more punctual in your studies. I just posted in the chat, and at the end of this course, you'll all get a certificate provided either you read or you're present, and there'll be exam also. So those who are taking it seriously, they will get certificate also after completion of this course. But if you attend 1 out of 10 classes and read 1 out of 10 times, then you will answer 1 of the 10 questions correctly, right? Then the chances of certificate go down, right? So the certificate is just like a lollipop, but the idea is to help us, right? The idea is to help us to understand. This is not just some theoretical knowledge here. We discuss a lot of practical examples and stories. I try my best to bring up these wonderful stories, so please try to take it seriously and share it with your friends, relatives, neighbors, anyone and everyone. Okay, so we'll pause here. Thank you so much. Bhagavad Gita Upanishad ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai,
Jai.
Sarvate Gaur Bhakta
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.